Okay, hi guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Let's pull it up. Hi, I'm Cam, one of the organizers with Twin City Zine Fest. This year, because of the pandemic, we're having a virtual fest running from Monday, October 19th till Sunday, October 25th. Check out our website at tczfest.org for information about events and workshops, plus exhibitor links and info. Twin City Zine Fest is partnering with Hennepin County Libraries to present live workshops during the fest this year. Thank you to the Friends of Hennepin County Library for sponsoring this event. If you feel inspired to make more zines after the workshop, free kits with zine making supplies are available for takeaway at Hosmer Library, Minneapolis Central Library, and Sumner Library while supplies last. On your visit, you can also print or make photocopies of your zines up to 25 pages free. Welcome B. Erin Cole and Jess Eckerstorfer of Paranoid Tree. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Erin, you can go first.
All right. So hi, my name is B. Erin Cole. I draw comics under the basically the name of Little Brain Comics. And thank you so much for letting me be part of this panel. And again, thank you, Twin City Zine Fest.
Thank you. And Jess?
I'm Jess Eckerstorfer, along with Alyssa Bloom. I am the co-founder of Paranoid Tree Press. We're a monthly poster zine operative that puts out new micro stories with custom illustration every month, starting in January 2021. We are currently working on building a subscription base, but with the goal that we pay all of our contributors to help grow the creative economy and also give proper honor to all of the artists that we work with.
Thank you. So starting the discussion, how has 2020 treated you, B. Erin?
So, well, 2020 has been a weird year. Weirdly enough, creatively, it's been fantastic. I've probably got more comics done this year than any year that I've in any of the years I've been drawing them. And I don't know if that's because I had more free time because I was inside all the time. It was a distraction from, everything that's going on, or some combination of those things. So this year I was actually able to draw a ton of comics. And specifically, I did a couple of series about being in quarantine. After, I basically like the rest of us stuck inside all the time after mid-March. And then I got furloughed from my job for 10 weeks. And I also did a series of comics basically called furlough comics. I was trying to do one every day, and I didn't get that done, but I did do 28 comics during my time being furloughed from work. So, and I do actually have a slideshow of some of the images if people are interested. So Cam looks excited. Let me see if I can show my screen. Does that hopefully this will work. So does that work for all of you?
Just a second. Let's try it.
All right, share screen. All right, this is either going to be fantastic or a disaster.
Fantastic.
All right, well, that looks good. All right. Hold on, let me get back to the beginning. So again, my comic's name is Little Brain Comics. That's Little Brain, the little blob there. I started drawing Little Brain as a character about 5 years ago after I suffered from a traumatic brain injury. So drawing comics is a way to communicate everything that was going on with me. So, and it I really I'm not really good at detail drawing. So a little blob brain is actually that's about how I kind of see myself anyway. So anyway, and then I'll repeat this again at the end. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, and I have an Etsy store. But again, right when quarantine started in March, I kind of started drawing a lot more comics, and a lot of them were showing things like interior states. So, because a lot of my comics are about kind of internal processes. So I'll just show you some examples from a few of them. This one I drew right right like on March 3rd, it's like March 14th, which is the day after basically quarantine started here in Minnesota. Like my employer closed down, everything happened. So again, like I have a lot of anxiety. So just that kind of like what is going on thing was always going on in the background. So I drew this. This is, and it just says, let's read this quickly for anyone who kind of needs the reading. It just says, if you have anxiety issues like me, things are really tough right now. The usual cloud of anxiety I live with has been replaced with super anxiety. There's a lot going on in this cloud too, and I won't read all these, but just things like, did I wash my hands? Maybe I should check to see what's happened in the world in the last 10 minutes, feeling isolated. And again, it doesn't help that my immune system is crap thanks to the brain injury. So, March 13th, I'm very worried about like washing hands, getting sick, things like that. And as like quarantine progressed, I just kind of like like one thing that was really nice is being able to pare down my style. So this is from mid-April. Just kind of like the feelings of quarantine week 6 or 7 or 8, like who knows what the hell week that was. So like, you see like enveloped in fog, 100% pure panic. I mean, one of the things I like about having like this character I created is that Little Brain is very malleable. And that's something that I use a lot in this one. Drifting through uncertainty, watching yourself from across the room. And this is actually, I was waiting on the email saying I was being furloughed from work. So that's wishing things felt solid again, and then worn down to a nub. So, and again, like, after, I got the email saying I was going to be furloughed for 6 weeks, and then it ended up being 10 weeks. And, it was, since I had a chance to have all this free time that I wasn't expecting, I'm like, I'm just going to do a furlough comic every day. I didn't make it, but I still did like 28 4-panel comics in like 10 weeks, which is a lot. And these are all on my Instagram, and I'll show the Instagram handle here in a bit. And again, like, I just covered a lot of comics. Like this one is about kind of turning in my badge at work and just how weird that felt. I'm like, hey, maybe we should organize some things around the apartment, and which, that mood only lasted a couple of days, but just some comics about like, what am I actually doing to fulfill my time? I slept a lot, so here's a comic about being lazy. And like, just like furlough and quarantine have brought out so many different ways to be lazy. This is my one about eating out in a restaurant on a patio for the first time in 95 days and how kind of weird it felt. And then, just a lot about like being inside your own head. Again, I live alone. Oh, I have a cat. And just kind of being isolated. Luckily, like comics gave me a way to process everything that was going on, but still not super healthy. And then finally, my furlough is ending. So I had to feel about this. And I think the best feeling was snacky. So I felt really, really snacky. So anyway, again, you can see more of these on Instagram and Twitter. But I guess kind of like the really thing that really like 2020 did for me, it really kind of cemented my belief that comics are a really, really good way to communicate with other people. That, like it, like being able to share my experiences about being really bored or being everything feels tedious or everything, just kind of like, like friends of mine would be like, I feel exactly the same way. Like we're all kind of going through this, for a lot of us, like this experience that we haven't really gone through before. And being able to like, a lot of people are like, hey, I'm really excited to see somebody kind of illustrating this in a way that I can share with other people. And again, it's also kind of given me a lot more kind of certainty in my own work. Again, I've also gotten a lot of other things done this year that is besides these, but just, being able to kind of almost have a practice. I mean, like, again, I didn't end up doing comics every day of furlough, but I was thinking about them at least. I was like, hey, like, how am I thinking about visualizing what I'm going through? And so it kind of gave me a little bit more discipline. And, unfortunately, because of going back to work, I haven't had as much time to work on comics, but it's really been kind of a transformative year as far as being an artist. Just kind of first off thinking about like, I can do things that have a reach. Being able to illustrate what's going through people's heads is really valuable to a lot of people. And, just being able to kind of like, look back and actually kind of see my own kind of almost like my own diary of everything that's gone through this year. I mean, like, again, I'm sure most of us kind of can't remember what day it is, but now I have this like record. I can be like, oh yeah, like in like mid June, like it was hot and everybody was angry. So anyway, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, um, and so that's how 2020 treated me. It's been an interesting year. So
Awesome. How about you, Jess?
Well, at the beginning of 2020, I was actually still living in Chicago. I'm currently a graduate student at Columbia College, working on my MFA in fiction writing. Um, but once the pandemic hit in March and classes went digital, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna move back. um, I lived alone in a basement apartment which was like the whole purpose was like I was at school like all the time, and so then living in a basement apartment paying way too much money in Chicago wasn't worth it. And then they closed the beaches down, so there was literally nowhere to go. So I was just like driving in my car like to get outside, which was really depressing. So my friend and I decided to get an apartment here in Minneapolis, which is great. I moved in the day before George Floyd was murdered, so it weirdly felt right to be home during a lot of that upheaval, because I don't think I would have been emotionally okay not being here with my community while all of the riots and stuff were happening. And not only that, but just to, like, to support the community as it was happening. um, and then Alyssa and I mean, we were working completely remote anyway when I was gone, doing a lot of Zoom calls, but now we live 3 blocks from each other, so we'll do like porch hangs and um, meet in each other's dining rooms to work on stuff, which is really great to have that community built in. But in terms of like working with other artists and other writers, like it's all email based, which is sad because like I know some of our artists live here in the Twin Cities, and I'm sure they would be having shows and stuff and we could go see them. But right now everything's very digital, just like this.
Yeah. It kind of like, sorry, I'm going blank. It's beautiful. Let's work. What's on here? It's beautiful, like what you guys are talking about, like change, like simultaneously, like it actually reminds me of like I was interviewing Philip Myra like a few days ago, and he had a comic where it started out where someone's born, and then they're talking about like when their sister was born, the day their sister was born. This many people were also born. This many people also died, and like how so many things are happening simultaneously at the same time. Quarantine happened for all of us. Like you said, the Erin in March. It was in March, right? I guess if you say it was March, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
that that they had the national, it's a national state of emergency or whatever happened, and yeah, in state of Minnesota became a state of emergency, and yeah, that the pandemic was really hitting home, and yeah, and at the same time it's like our lives, intertwined in so many ways, and yet you move back to Minnesota, Jess, and yeah, it's almost poetic in a way, sad but poetic that like yeah, a lot happened. um So, B. Erin, how have your comics changed over 2020?
well, it's in some ways like trying to think of a good way to talk about that. Again, like I was kind of like I mean I was yeah. So like the thing that I actually really worked on when I was doing kind of all the furlough comics is being able to do something really quickly. So I kind of have a tendency to like work and rework things. And, so I was just deciding, if I'm going to do a daily comic, I can't be that fussy. Everything can't be super precious. I mean, again, like even though I have a really simple drawing style, I still spend a lot of time trying to get everything right and everything. But I'm just like, like let's just do something that's about the immediate present. Like let's sometimes I would just give myself like, like you have 30 minutes to do this 4-panel comic. So I didn't think too much about layout or anything. I mean, I tried to do new things, but so it was kind of good. Like it was just like, like just do it and get it out there. And the big thing I think also is that usually before this, I mean, like, like we're not having an in-person zine fest this year. And I usually produce comics to print on paper that I will sell copies at Twin Cities Zine Fest or other zine fests. And I'd already decided this year I was going to step back a little bit from doing zine fests because I did a ton last year. But usually what I'm thinking is like, this is going to be a paper product at some point. So this year I'm like, realizing that there's probably not going to, I was supposed to do Denver Zine Fest and then some others, and that this is just going, it wasn't going to happen. So I just basically started doing nothing but digital comics. And in some ways that kind of freed me up for like, not thinking about like, okay, this has to be eight pages, the thing that the kind of math we do about doing like the math of like how many pages is this going to be, how am I going to print it, things like that. It's like, all right, if this is just going to live as a digital product, it can be whatever it wants to be, and I originally thought I would print my Quarantine comics as a book, which I may still, but I just haven't had time to do it. But now I'm just like, sure, I'll do a 20. Like I've started doing much longer ones that will probably never be printed. So like, if we start having a Zine Fest next year, I'm gonna have to come up with something new to print.
I bet. So Jess, how have your zines changed, or how has art changed for you? What's new with 2020?
I mean, for us, it's all been digital, like how we've been working with people, but we did did order some like risograph and digital prints of our stuff as we're getting ready to mail them, which is really cool. We came up with a really cool pricing model where people can access our stuff at a pay what you can rate. So we always have free access to our zines on our website. And those are in a PDF form. They're watermarked, so you can't print them and reproduce them, obviously. But we did want to have like a radical access option to like make it available to all people. But also this idea of like getting like a treat in the mail, it is like how we're communicating. Like I've been writing way more letters to people and postcards and stuff, and so being able to like mail a monthly zine to everyone is a pretty great option, because it's just like that grasp of human contact that you get in the mail once a month from us as we keep going in quarantine for who knows how long.
Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of us are very eager to like, maybe it's just zinesters, maybe it's some unique quality to like zinesters and comic arts and such, but like it seems like a lot of us are eager to get mail, eager to get any kind of contact. You're right, it's human contact in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how does Paranoid Tree pay their artists? I was just curious.
So, I mean, we built that into our system when it started. We don't take submission fees, so all of our writers can submit their work to us for free via Google form. But we were lucky enough, we earned a grant at the beginning of 2019 that helps pay off our starting costs, called the Weissman Grant from Columbia College. That's been great. And then we have such a great community. We've gotten really great donations, and then also from our subscriptions, all of that goes back into paying our artists and writers. So if you get accepted to work with Paranoid Tree, you automatically earn a stipend.
Cool. That is really cool. You guys got a grant and everything to make that happen. That's really awesome. I'm not sure how to word this, but like, so you came right after, or was it right before? Jess, you came right before George Floyd's events?
Started, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did that affect you? I mean,
how did that affect everyone? It's just, I mean, it's always been a problem. it's always been something that we've had to deal with as a community. So I'm a person of color as well. So like knowing that that is just how people live their lives, and then but having it happen in our own community and on such a great scale is devastating to see how the community grieves, but it's also hopeful. I mean, obviously no one wants anyone to die, but I always think back of his daughter put out this amazing letter on Father's Day talking about like the impact that her father has now made in the world, and obviously not for great reasons, but it definitely gave a greater voice to Black Lives Matter and talking about police and gun violence. But I mean, overall, it's incredibly difficult situation for all of us to deal with and think about, and something that obviously more people need to be aware of and to like take action and be involved in.
Yeah, it kind of felt weird, like, yeah, I don't know how to express this. It's a huge complex topic. It's hard to like just gloss over, but at the same time it's like I kind of wondered in the past why people, like the average person who was not as involved with, like, say, Black Lives Matter or whatever, or didn't seem like it was like people my age cared about stuff, but even then it was still like not everyone was seeing what it was. Like in Minnesota, I don't know in Chicago, like in Minnesota we had like Black Lives Matter locally, like they would like block highways, they would block like humans just like making a chain or doing whatever, just like physically blocking the highway or like the entrance to like the state fair or whatever as a means of peaceful protest, or laying down at the Mall of America and like I think were they chanting "I can't breathe" or were they holding
Yeah, it
signs or
was a
something like that?
die-in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like it didn't make sense why people it didn't weren't affected. They were like, "Oh, it's such an inconvenience." It's like you're not getting it. You're just not getting it. And like this time, it resonated with people, and it just made sense now. And it's like I don't know
It
why it
seemed
took so
to.
long.
I will
Yeah,
say there's an entire section of the population, however, that still won't recognize the movement, which is um, part of why the work is so frustrating and so exhausting. I think the most important thing to realize in like the Black Lives Matter movement is that people need to really exercise self-care because it is really emotionally, physically, financially, communitively draining. It's a thing where we really need to look out for one another because not everyone can be doing everything all the time.
yeah,
In order to actually like fight and make change, you need to be taking care of yourself first.
yeah. Literally that. Not everyone can do the same thing. Not everyone can do everything. No one can do everything. I mean, we all do what we can, and it all fits together in a greater puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I think I keep hearing stuff that like I don't know how to say it's like I have family members, like distant family members who are like whatever leaning and stuff that are like politically like different. And so I hear the comments on Facebook and it's like not everyone gets Black Lives Matter, like the term Black Lives Matter or the group Black Lives Matter, but at the same time people are all feeling like something it was what broke the camel's back, that this was too far. This is that something that's like duh, human being is suffering, that like a lot of humans are suffering, that like and just push it over. I think it changed at some point until like when there were the riots, when there was stuff happening in May. I think it pushed, and then it came back to like people saying back to their political leanings, their old political leanings of like what they stood with. But it was just I don't know. Yeah, I think we still have a lot of work to do as human beings.
Oh, tremendously so.
Yeah. It's weird. I've lived in Minneapolis my whole life. I don't know, like Jess, you moved from Chicago and be Erin Cole. Have you lived in how long have you been in Minnesota?
I've only been here about 4 years or
Oh
5 years.
really?
So I was in Denver before that.
Oh okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've lived in Minneapolis like basically my whole life, and I've traveled places, but I haven't really like lived like elsewhere. So like seeing like Minneapolis felt like home. It always felt safe in a way, and seeing like buildings burning down, seeing stuff happening. I mean, like seeing like some of the other I mean, I saw it on like footage on YouTube or whatever, but seeing footage of the riots and seeing like what happened with, I don't know, everything, every aspect of it was just, I don't care about the property damage, but I'm saying like it's real. It's
Mhm.
real. Yeah.
Yeah, I still think it's important though to emphasize that like Minneapolis is still incredibly safe. Like I hate the
Mhm.
fact that when people see the way that the news portrayed what happened throughout the summer, that it looks like such a violent landscape. That's complete, I'm going to swear, bullshit. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
this is obviously a community. People live here. Labeling places as dangerous places diminishes the fact that these are community spaces. Like I was in like a small play festival right in Powderhorn Park neighborhood like in late July, and it was beautiful, and everyone was in community together. Like there are still, and like I mean, even the memorial site itself is such a beautiful space for community. It's not something that is dangerous and that gets played up for a 24-hour news cycle in the wrong way, which is awful.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
hearing stuff too, and my mom would relay stuff like, watch out, there's like violence in downtown Minneapolis. And I'd go there, and then it's like nothing's going on, empty as usual, emptier than usual, emptier than usual. Like during the pandemic era, it was just nothing
Mhm.
was going on, and it wasn't violent at all. It was just, it's overplayed. They have nothing to say, so they say something. It's just, it's really weird and gross the way the
Yeah.
media operates. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was. Go
violent actions happen everywhere.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but that doesn't make some place like uninhabitable.
Yeah. What do you think, B. Aaron?
So it was really amazing, like getting, like getting, like talking to a family of mine that live elsewhere, like just what they were picking up from like the mainstream news or wherever they were getting their information. It just was so distorting what was actually happening here. And it was, I'm like, no, no, don't believe these things. This is what's going on. This is what I've heard from friends of mine who are, participating in protests, like doing community work and everything. And it was just like, like just getting that, just like doing that kind of real time gap between what was actually going on here in the Twin Cities versus what people outside were like hearing, and getting texts from people like, you need to stay safe and all these things. And I'm like, I'm in St. Paul. That's a little further away. And but just getting like, like just like that, this huge gap between what everyone here is experiencing and what people outside have kind of like said, well, this is what Minneapolis is doing. It's just kind of, I mean, like I've experienced that before, but this summer it was such a gaping chasm between, like the experience of everyone here and then how it was being portrayed out to people elsewhere. It was just kind of, it was horrifying. Like, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I had to relay to like at points early on. I had to relay to relatives around the world. Like, it's okay. We're like 5 miles. We're not. We're like almost 7 miles away from the closest stuff. Because like for a while, like we were worried ourselves. Like, is there going to be arson in our neighborhood or something going on? And it's like it worked out. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. How did Zine Fest getting canceled change you guys' plans? Jess, what do you think?
I mean, definitely just this digital format. Not being able to be in community with people, not being able to show like the physical print objects. So everyone, the only way to get to see them will be to order them, which like it doesn't diminish any of the work that we've done by any means, but it just makes it different. Um, I mean, I was living in Chicago. We were also thinking about going to the Chicago Zine Fest. There's a really great zine store in Chicago called Quimby's.
Mm-hmm.
So we were thinking about working with them, but um, it definitely has just like, it at the same time has made everything more localized and more global by becoming digital, but also everything's from our houses. So it's that weird dichotomy of like, now we do everything from home, but now you can share it on the internet. So it's a really interesting environment to play in.
Yeah. What do you think, B. Aaron?
Well, I mean, obviously, if we were having this in person, and here we'd be all sitting at the Hennepin County Library today.
Yeah.
Like actually like talking to people and being near people and actually talking to people you don't know. I mean, obviously, you know, I really miss the actual like physical experience of a zine fest. I mean, not just having people like look at my stuff, but seeing what other people have and talking to them and like just kind of like getting to know new people and just seeing a lot of like, you know, stuff produced by really kind of talented artists. It's just like it's kind of one of the highlights of my year. And just not being able to do that is just it's kind of like I kind of like, you know, like I don't know if anyone felt like this when the pandemic started. It kind of felt like, okay, well, this is going to be take a couple weeks, and like it was new and stuff like that. But now it's like now as we progress through 2020, we get to like, oh, I would have been doing this thing right now. Oh, I would have been doing that thing right now. So you know, just thinking about the fact that there's no Twin Cities Zine Fest is, you know, it's kind of, you know, like I feel all of my conversations with people have to be scheduled, and you know they're in my living room, and it's so different than, you know, just being able to like, you know, kind of just meet somebody because you like the way that their stuff looks. And I mean, you know, and obviously like I've started, you know, like um you know, I have an Etsy store and stuff like that, but I haven't been selling comics through it. I've only been selling stickers through it just because they're the easiest thing to stick in an envelope and put a stamp on. You don't have to go to the post office. So I haven't been mailing anything that would require going to the post office just because like being in that physical space is just kind of weird. And there's also not like a convenient post office to me. So it's kind of changed the way that I like sell things. It's like, all right, like what's the easiest possible thing to sell online, and that's stickers. So anyway, so it's kind of, you know, it's changed the way that I like do sales. And again, like it has been kind of cool. Like there's all of these um, online comics fests and things that you can just kind of like, hey, I'm at this event that I wouldn't have been able to go to because I wasn't in X city before. You know, and I've been able to communicate with like comics friends around the country and the world. But again, we should be in the library today, like, you know, trading zines and like buying stickers and talking to each other, and we're not. So,
Yeah. It is really surreal in a way, and at the same time, you're right. It's really, I think you were saying, Jess, that it's like it's hyper local in a way. We're doing it out of our houses, but at the same time, it's global, and it's real. And I mean, it's cool. Like, I mean, we can participate in like virtual zine fest like around the world. If we can like coordinate our clocks or whatever, we can coordinate our, you know, figure out the time zones and stuff. But yeah, it's been hard.
mm-hmm. And also like I sit in this exact same chair looking at this exact same screen for my job all day. So it's kind of ah, like it's just like there's like this like blending of work and social life and everything that it's just kind of like, oh my god, I'm sitting as my life is sitting in this desk chair. So that's really kind of disconcerting.
Yeah, disconcerting and maybe a little depressing because it's like, yeah, the whole day co-working or doing whatever, 9 to 5, and then 5 o'clock happy hour, right in front of the same spot.
Put a beer in front of your laptop that you didn't have before. Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think, Jess?
I mean, yeah, I've been teaching and taking classes over Zoom, which is a whole other thing, and I also nanny part-time. So I literally have a little kindergartner that I helped do Zoom kindergarten, which is one of the most sad things I've ever seen, because it's like kindergarten is all supposed to be about like learning how to be like group dynamics and learning how to like stick your hands in clay and paint and like experiment with stuff. And it's just me, him, and his 3-year-old brother at home, like pitching tents in the living room. Not that that's not fun, not that I don't love that, but like it's just very different.
Yeah, pretty surreal, maybe. How have your zine topics changed, Jess?
I don't know that ours have changed that much. We accept fiction, creative nonfiction, and prose poetry through our submission portal, and we've definitely seen a lot of like COVID related stories that have been written, but I still think that we're too close to the situation, like we're still in it, so that people aren't necessarily processing zine stories well enough yet to be published right now. I think we need to be a little removed and out of it to have some more of that like introspective perspective on like how we're writing and what we're doing. But I mean, we definitely have an intention of publishing a completely inclusive body of writers. I'm really proud of the first 5 stories that we actually have chosen, and we try to pair them all with illustrators from the same background as that writer as well, to like really homogenize the story itself.
Awesome. What do you think, B, Erin?
So that's a really good question. And I think, like looking back, I mean, I stopped doing kind of the quarantine-ish comics when I went back to work. I mean, a lot of it because I just all of a sudden like I had all these things to do, and I haven't really done any since. And I mean, I've done other comics, but it feels like I'm kind of branching out into other things. Like I'm working on a couple of comics projects about kind of history and then like kind of some memoirish things. And it's just like, I think I'm tired of talking about the pandemic. like like kind of like that thing like when I was reading, I read through all of my comics to put the presentation together. I'm just like, I'm really glad I did these, but like I am so tired of talking about and being tired of drawing myself at my desk and other things. So I think it's in some ways like like I feel like I kind of widen. I'm interested in different stories besides what's going on in my brain at any given time, because like it's like, all right, well, let's think about this, or maybe I'll do a comic about this topic. I mean, I'm a kind of a historian by training, so thinking about kind of doing some more kind of history comics and other things would be interesting. And so I think right now I'm just kind of, I'm trying to do some stuff that's not just about like, what, being inside is boring. Because I
Yeah,
feel like I
Erin.
read that comic over and over again for a while. So
Yeah, Erin. I can't like all there's all these new like quarantine related like sitcoms coming out. I can't watch them. I don't want to watch them. That's my life right now. Like I don't need to like stew in that more so than like what is reality. So like I think that's like one thing that's great about like creating is just like the escapism aspect of it. Like we have this one really cool story that's all about like building a world of chairs and steps, and so like thinking about like what that would be like really cool.
mm-hmm.
Cool. I really like what you said, Jess, about like that we're too close to it. We're historically too close. Like we're in the midst of a pandemic. It's hard to say like what the bigger effect of it will be, but yeah. It
Mm-hmm.
makes me think of like other times in history when I just felt like, or other aspects of our current lives where it's just like there's so much misinformation and there's so much like I don't know what biased. There's too much bias going on that we need to step back and like historically like I'll see what the history books say about it versus like yeah. But yeah, it's really close. We're just in the midst of it, and it's an ongoing year that's just not ending. That's just going on, and yeah.
I mean, it's really, I've thought about that because, like, again, like I'm a historian, and there's always this kind of thing when I'm like looking back at like things I'm studying, going like, were people actually thinking about everything that was going on around them when they were, like you have a picture, like maybe there's a picture of a couple of people like sitting at a table having dinner. What are they actually thinking about? Are they thinking about like, oh, these huge things are going on in the world? And like now that it's like now that you're actually kind of living through it, that people are just trying to get through the day. They're just like, I don't want to think about the pandemic or the election because I can't get away from those things. I want to think about this. I want to think about this meal I just cooked or my family or getting us through the day and things like that. And it just kind of like, like so it has like really changed my perspective on thinking about some of the people that I study. It's just like, they were just like, I don't want to think, like I don't want to think about the Cold War right now. I just want to think about this loaf of bread that I'm making or something like that. So I'm just kind of, it's given me a lot more empathy for people in the past. So it's just like, you know what, it actually isn't great living through interesting times.
Yeah. Before I used to feel bad for myself, actually, personally, like when I was stuck at home and like 2019, I'm talking about, like when nothing was going on in my life was boring. And now it's like, I don't know. I'm glad there's no one in my family has COVID. I'm glad we're kind of healthy. I'm glad we're just kind of
Yeah.
things are not that bad. I mean, I'm stuck at home. I'm getting, I think my brain is getting a bit warped from like just being at home and not really interacting with people face to face, not like staring at the same few walls and everything. Sometimes I feel like that's really relatable to like what people in third world countries, not all third world countries. I'm not saying like what people what some of the poorest people have to deal with. A lot of the world has to deal with that. Like it's different. You're saying with history. I'm saying with like um maybe in relation to what people who are stuck. You know, they have like feeling like stuck. Like you don't have a choice. Like we can't just hop on a plane. So I don't like the pandemic. Too bad. I'm just gonna hop on a plane and go someplace else. And it just doesn't work out that way. Yeah. What do you think, Jess?
I mean, yeah. I mean, first of all, like no other countries will even let us because we're
Yeah.
so like in it. But yeah, I mean, day to day is just whatever you can do. Like I literally have this rainbow color coordinated quarantine schedule right next to my desk, and have I ever actually followed it? No. Like it's just like what you do to get through the day each of these days, because it is, there aren't as many releases, there aren't as many distractions as there would be. Obviously, like our phones and our technology are keeping us hooked together a little more often, but it's not the same of like going to a coffee shop, or like what Erin was talking about. Like if we were at the Zine Fest right now, there would be such an opportunity for us to meet other strangers, be introduced to other people's work. I think that's what I miss more than anything, is being able to explore museums and galleries and bookstores and all of these places that really bring art into community. I mean, I'm a huge musical theater nerd, and like that'll probably be like the last thing to come back. Um, and just knowing that people are waiting. People are waiting to get back to their jobs, back to their lives. Like it's disheartening, but also I'm hopeful. I feel like there might be a renaissance of sorts when we're able to do it again, which would be really great to see what everyone's been cooking up while they're sitting at home. And also, if you didn't do anything while you were at home, fine. It's so hard. Like, I'm supposed to be working on thesis right now, and it's like pulling teeth. So I don't know.
Yeah, I totally feel for you about like having to like write a thesis, do stuff. Like, yeah, sometimes you just can't. But yeah, it really touches me. It really gives me hope when you say that there might be a renaissance. It makes me think of like, yeah, maybe it might actually be something. Who knows what it'll look like? But yeah, there a resurgence of arts of crafts of like handmade stuff and maybe connections with people. I don't know. It'd be really cool to see
Yeah,
what
I
happens.
definitely want to keep up the whole pen pal thing. I've loved writing letters. It's been really great.
Mm-hmm. Have you been doing a lot of? Do you have a lot of pen pals right now?
Yeah, I do. Back in Chicago, and then just from other walks of life and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about you, B. Erin?
Um, hmm. Like I've noticed that like at least like I have come up, not like say like the pandemic has kind of given me some space to come up with like new projects, and that I find really interesting and exciting. But again, doing them, thinking them up, and then doing them are completely different things. Um, and but I mean, I do know a lot of, first off, you know, a lot of people who are looking forward to like, you know, someday this will be over, for whatever over means. You know, we don't really know yet, but you know, like just thinking of people's pent up energy and, you know, like what kinds of, I mean, first off, I mean, like there are good things that have come out of, you know, this experience. I mean, I'm just thinking, you know, like we've talked about the fact that, you know, we're all having this conversation from our own living rooms, and just thinking about like musicians that have done concerts on Zoom. People are doing kind of not really theater productions, but kind of desktop storytelling and things like that. And the fact that um, like like there is an accessibility to Zoom that there isn't always it for a physical experience. Um, so I'm kind of curious as like how we kind of like combine, like some of the things that we're learning from the experience of being inside all the time, of being kind of in a virtual world with kind of like, kind of that pent up like what's now that we can go outside and like touch strange people that we don't we haven't vetted in advance, like how can we combine like 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 kind of this like kind of this new way of kind of living in the world with like that kind of pent up desire to do things physically. So I'm kind of really curious as to what kind of hybrid things are going to come up in next year or the year after that, or wherever. Like we don't know when over is going to be.
I kind of wonder, like the guys who wear the t-shirts that say free hugs, like is that ever going to come back? Or some stuff like blowing out your candles on your birthday cake, some stuff might never. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting, but yeah, like I kind of hope we overdo the quarantine part. Like I hope we outdo the pandemic a little bit, so like we're safe and there's not like a small resurgence and a small resurgence over and over again, like of like bars and restaurants or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't know if the experts are experts. I don't know what's going on. Like, do we really know? I mean, like, wait for the vaccine, but like, is it a vaccine everyone can have? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can the sick and elderly really have the vaccine, or will it just, or will it is it, and will it be like flu shots are egg based? I'm allergic to eggs. I can't have flu shots, but I don't really get the flu, so I don't know. I mean, how will the vaccine be made or created? Or, I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, so I don't really know that stuff. But yeah, it'd be cool to figure out like what happens. Yeah. Jess, tell us about Paranoid Tree.
In what respect?
Do you guys have anything coming out soon in the next few
Yeah.
months?
So we launched subscriptions this week, and we're gonna start shipping in January. But literally, this whole operation is just me and Alyssa in our living rooms. So we handle like all the mailing ourselves, and all of the store-based stuff as well, which is what a lot of creatives do. So it's not anything new, but I think people who don't do this process don't realize how strenuous it can be. So we are giving ourselves the break that we need to get prepared to like come up with a mailing system every month. But for anyone who subscribes before January, we're actually doing a great deal where you get 3 zines the first month instead of just 1, and then a sticker, and it's at a discounted rate. But I mean, I can show a preview of some of our first zines that are coming out.
Sure, yeah, that'd be cool.
So this is a story by Molly Aldwin called Honey from the Rock, illustrated by Jess Lovedahl. Let's see.
Wow.
This is a piece by Lucy Zhang that we had Risographed print at the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, working with their service bureau. The art is by a local artist named Brenda Tran. And then our third one that will come out in January is Rendered Speechless by Munira Hussein, illustrated by Laura Chow Reeve. Each 3 of them are incredibly different. Each one is its own unique story, like wholly separate from the other, as are the illustrations. We really just focus on quality, but also like breaking away from the canon. Like we don't want anything that like could be in an anthology. We want different voices, different perspectives as they come out. So we're really proud of our artists and our writers so far, and it feels really great to have them, to be in community with them.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
So you have a diversity of writers and artists, and are you pairing them up? Like,
yeah, we do. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Oh, and we got a few questions. Question from a viewer on YouTube. How can members of the zine community support each other right now and into 2021?
I mean, I think a big one is like social media. That's like the easiest way right now for all of us to stay in communication with one another. And I know it's not everyone's medium, so I'm not saying that you have to jump on and get an account, but like reposting, resharing, like even if you just see something that you like, just like throw it in your feed. Like it's really great. That's how I found so many of the things that I really love and that I follow, is from other parts of my community, is just being able to see like really eclectic work that other people are interested in. It's the like as close to a physical like conference that we're gonna get is being in communication with these people in this way. And then also buy things. Like I know that's like, it's really hard because I mean, and I'm not gonna say like throw your budget into whack for zine stars, but like if you can afford it, support people. Like buy things, have things mailed to you. It's so much fun to get mail, but also like creatives need to make a living the way that everyone else does.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. What do you think, B. Erin?
I would agree with all of that. I mean, just like, amplifying each other's voices, like sharing stuff you like with other on your social, on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And also like I would just kind of like, it's never, I mean, it's a really good idea. Like if there's someone whose work you like, not just kind of retweeting it or whatever, just kind of like send people a note saying, hey, I really like your stuff. I mean, we're all going through like hard times this year, and just getting kind of a nice note from someone who likes your stuff can really, like, if you're having a really crappy day, especially if you're inside all the time. So not just, and I agree, like buy things, do things, but just reach out to people. So I think, like I've actually made a bunch of kind of, I would be on kind of like friendships over social media during the pandemic. Just, there's a lot of people that I either follow or stuff like that who are kind of like more open to like, I need to communicate with people who are not the two people I live with all the time. So in some ways it's been kind of good for making kind of friendships with other creators and things like that. So just tell people you really like their work.
Awesome. And yeah, networking with people. Networking and like, you can collaborate with people from all over the world now on zines. You can collaborate with people on anything. And like, and also, yeah, if you love someone's work, buy it and re-gift it to someone who is not in the zine community, Spread it out. Like, don't just keep it from within zinesters and stuff. I mean, we gotta like spread it out, get non-zinesters. Explain what a zine is. Explain how to get involved in the zine community, and maybe just, yeah. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. I want to thank both of you for talking to me, for talking to TCZF, and joining us with this discussion panel. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and work with TCZF. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for hosting. I mean, you've been doing all of these interviews all week, so thank you for coordinating all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, thank you for asking us to be part of this, and for doing, for keeping kind of the community like kind of informed and together during like, time when we can't be together in the same space. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, my heart is just like overflowing. Like, thank you guys. Yeah, I'm glad we can build community, and in this time when we have no third place, when we don't have a second place. We don't have, when we're just stuck at home, when we're just stuck in our spots, that we can build community. We can build network. We can network and like share what we love with each other. Thank you.